Welcome the timeless forgotten mystery. 50 boats were racing rapidly toward Gaza, carrying around 500 people from all over the world. Among them were politicians, activists, and even Hollywood actors, all united for one cause: to reach the people of Gaza and show solidarity with them. One activist said, "I'm not scared. I'll keep fighting," before throwing his toy into the sea, a symbol of defiance. But before these boats could reach Gaza, they were suddenly attacked. As they drew closer to their destination, Israeli forces intercepted them and diverted all the boats away from Gaza toward the Israeli city of Ashdod, where everyone on board was arrested. Among the detainees were Pakistan's former Senator Mushtaq Ahmed and Greta Thunberg, along with over 200 others. Their arrest triggered protests across the globe. But this wasn't the first flotilla that Israel had stopped. Before this, 10 flotillas had already been captured in similar ways. Yet the question remains, where did all these flotillas come from? And who was the mastermind behind this daring idea? The story begins with one man, Michael Shaik from Australia. About 20 years ago, when he first travelled from Australia to Palestine, he was shocked to see the conditions there, how Israel had surrounded Gaza from all sides, cutting it off and starving its people. "These are the faces of hunger in Gaza," he would say. Moved by what he saw, Michael began helping the people there and raising his voice for them across the world. But when Israel's Prime Minister heard about his activities, he had Michael arrested and thrown into an Israeli jail. In his later interviews, Michael recalled, "The only thing that truly hurt me was knowing that Israel would never allow me to enter Palestine again." Sitting behind bars, he started to think, and think deeply. Then, an idea sparked in his mind, an idea that would one day become a global movement. The idea of a flotilla. Flotilla, a Spanish word meaning a small group of boats. Michael thought, if Israel won't let me into Palestine alone, then I'll gather people from all over the world. We'll go together in boats, and even Israel's power won't be able to stop us. And if they try, the whole world will witness their cruelty. This idea might have sounded new, but in truth, it wasn't. The concept of the flotilla first appeared during World War II. When the war began, Hitler's Germany was advancing rapidly, attacking one nation after another. For the first time, it seemed that even the mighty British Empire was on the verge of surrender. British morale was collapsing. Even the Prime Minister resigned in fear of Hitler. But then, a new leader emerged, Winston Churchill. At that time, nearly 400,000 British soldiers were trapped on the French beaches of Dunkirk, surrounded by 800,000 German troops. With the sea behind them and German planes bombing from above, there seemed no escape. Churchill begged America for help, but America refused. Desperate, Churchill made a bold announcement: anyone who owns a boat, no matter how small, must sail into the war zone and bring our soldiers back. And so, ordinary British citizens, fishermen, sailors, and even families, sailed their tiny boats straight into danger. Miraculously, they managed to rescue 350,000 of the 400,000 trapped soldiers. The world called it a miracle, and it was the first flotilla in history. Decades later, sitting in his Israeli jail cell, Michael Shaik remembered this story. He realized that if ordinary people could cross into a war zone for humanity once, they could do it again. When he was finally released, he began raising funds worldwide to launch his own flotilla for Palestine. In 2008, after gathering enough money, Michael filled 2 boats with food and medicine and set sail toward Gaza, defying Israel's restrictions and reaching the besieged Palestinians with supplies. This first flotilla became a global headline. Just 2 years later, he organized another, this time with 6 ships carrying 10,000 tons of aid. Turkey's government, under Erdogan, gave full support. What began as one man's dream had now become a global movement. But Israel could not tolerate this. As the flotilla approached Gaza, Israeli forces attacked and opened fire, killing 10 unarmed civilians. They seized the boats and stole all the humanitarian aid meant for Gaza's poor. Yet, despite the bloodshed, the flotilla movement didn't die. Even after arrests, attacks, and theft, more flotillas kept sailing toward Gaza. Again and again, Israel stopped them, but every time, the message spread further. The world began to see the truth. 2 years ago, when Israel launched one of its largest assaults on Gaza, cutting it off completely from the world, the flotilla movement rose once again. This time, 50 countries came together to support it. 50 boats carrying 500 people, activists, politicians, and celebrities, set sail for Gaza. They departed from Barcelona, Spain, and as they moved, more ships joined them along the way. These weren't ordinary boats. They had bedrooms, kitchens, and washrooms. And among the 500 people on board, only 30% were Muslims. The other 70% were non-Muslims who risked their lives purely for humanity. Most participants came from Turkey, followed by European nations like Spain, Italy, and France. Even Pakistan was represented by 2 brave individuals. There were also Jews on board who stood in solidarity with Palestine. Yet, notably absent were representatives from the richest Muslim nations, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar. Not a single person from these countries joined. Among the participants were some well-known figures, like Nelson Mandela's grandson, Zwelivelal Mandela, and Pakistani Senator Mushtaq Ahmed, who had previously been jailed in Pakistan for his pro-Palestine activism. Once, a police officer had mocked him, saying, "If you're so brave, go help people in Gaza." And now, that's exactly where he was heading. But as the flotilla neared Gaza, Israeli drones attacked. Despite the assault, the boats pressed forward. Soon, Israeli commandos stormed the vessels, arrested everyone, and accused them of being terrorists. Once again, the flotilla didn't reach Gaza. Over 100 activists were detained. It seemed like another failure. But it wasn't, because news of their arrests spread like wildfire. The world erupted in protests against Israel, demanding justice and freedom for Palestine. And now, reports say that planning for the next flotilla has already begun, one that will be even larger, stronger, and more united than ever before. Possibly the biggest in history, even greater than the one from World War II.